This is the Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas sign. Now this sign has a little secret. See these asterisks? Yeah, none of this would have happened without them. See, Las Vegas shouldn't exist. So why does it? Let me explain. First, let's start with the obvious. Las Vegas is in the Mojave Desert. And not like, oh, it's kind of in the Mojave Desert. It's literally in the freaking Mojave Desert. This is the Mojave Desert. It's 110 degrees Fahrenheit in the shade, which there isn't any. There's no rivers. There's no lakes. There's just sand, scorpions, and regret. So why here? Well, blame the railroad. In 1905, the San Pedro, Los Angeles, and Salt Lake Railroad needed a water stop, like a glorified pit stop. You know, instead of gas, they pumped water, specifically potable water, because it was on the route between Salt Lake City and Los Angeles. The railroad needed somewhere to refuel its steam engines and resupply its passengers who were riding in the sleeper cars, also called cattle cars, because no one thought women should be allowed on the train. So they packed their own food and stayed on the train for days. So the railroad said, great, let's just set up shop here. Then the mob showed up. Listen, prohibition may have ended, but the gangsters weren't ready to go legit just yet. And Atlantic City was just too crowded with all those Jewish people. And Chicago was too hot with all those Italian people. So where do you build a gambling empire where no one bothers you? A desert ghost town run by Mormons, surprisingly. See, when the railroad showed up, they brought a bunch of Mormon settlers with them, people fleeing religious persecution in Utah. They built farms, then they flooded the entire area, built more farms, and had so much success. They eventually sold all the farms to speculators and then made a lot of money selling land to developers. And who wants to buy land in a desert full of dirt and rocks? Not many people, but there were plenty of buildings to go around. And you don't need to buy out a small town. Lease it from the church. You see, the Church of Latter-day Saints owns a lot of land in Nevada, enough to build a casino or two. And they weren't shy about leasing it to, let's say, gangsters. Why? Simple. Tithing doesn't pay for temples. Real estate does. So when Bugsy Siegel arrived in Vegas with a thick stack of mob money in 1946, he was able to lease about 10 acres from the church for a few $1,000s a month. And the rest is history. Sort of. The casino flopped. He got whacked. But the idea was genius. You build a glittering palace in the middle of nowhere and then make the desert pay. And that's exactly what happened. Skimming millions, burying bodies in concrete and paying off politicians, mostly skimming millions and paying off politicians while burying bodies in concrete. By the 1950s, Vegas was mob central. Frank Sinatra was performing there. The Rat Pack was hanging out. Ava Gardner was calling the shots, and Bugsy's widow was running a casino. Even the mob had mobbed up Vegas. They were so brazen, they skimmed money right out in the open. Like, remember when Tony Duquette's wife, Candy, stole $500,000 from the Stardust Casino and cashed out her chips at the Mint? And the Mint didn't even bother to ask where she got the money and happily accepted the mob money, willingly. The desert had officially become a theme park. And the irony of all of this is the desert gave them everything they needed. See, building a casino in the desert means you don't have to worry about things like, oh, I don't know, water and power. Luckily for Vegas, upstream they built the Hoover Dam, which flooded the entire valley and gave them cheap electricity, and ironically, water. Now, this is where the story of Vegas takes a bit of a turn. Normally, when we think of Vegas, we think of gambling. But really, for a lot of its early history, gambling wasn't the main draw. Gambling was tolerated, but it was really the alcohol, the music, and the showgirls that drew visitors in. Oh yeah, the alcohol. Those were the good old days, before Las Vegas was this family-friendly destination where you could win big or lose big. But either way, you'd end up coming home with fond memories and pictures for the kids. Or maybe before they turned all the fountains off because of the drought. Or maybe before they replaced the ice rinks with surf pools. Whatever. But Vegas became the Sin City we know and love today, thanks to the Great Depression. 1931, Nevada was broke and desperate, so they did what any normal state would do in that situation. They legalized gambling. Suddenly, they weren't just a mob hideout. They were an economic engine. Of course, you can't run casinos without water and power. Good thing they had both. For the next few decades, the formula was simple. Build an extravagant hotel, fill it with slot machines, and get rich. As the Strip developed, the magic was pretty simple. They attracted big-name acts, hosted boxing matches, had ridiculous buffets, and somehow managed to build brand-new hotels every decade. It was a formula that worked. That is until the mob started losing control of the city they helped build. It happened slowly at first. Corporate types started showing up, then they started taking over. But by the 1980s and 1990s, Disney had totally sanitized the place. I mean, they even built a pyramid. Steve Wynn, the owner of the MGM Grand, focused on building affordable buffets. Michael Ovitz moved in and started booking big-name comedians and musicians. And the Mirage opened with a volcano that erupted every hour. Basically, they went from mob-controlled organized crime to corporate-controlled organized chaos. Over the last few decades, Vegas has changed a lot. It used to be easy. You go there, you gamble. Now there's more than 100 buffets. There's fake Eiffel Towers, fake volcanoes, and fake marriages. And it's hard to tell the difference between the mob and corporate greed. These days, Vegas is more of a theme park for adults. They fly in thousands of tourists every year, squeeze a few bucks out of them, then send them home with fond memories and pictures to put on Facebook. Unless you're European, then you post on Instagram. Whatever. But just because it's fake doesn't mean it's harmless. Just ask anyone who accidentally left their credit card there. Look, this whole time we've been focusing on the dumb reasons Vegas exists. The water, the mob, the cheap electricity. But really, it comes down to one thing: stupidity. I know that's a bold statement, so let me break it down for you. People wouldn't drive 500 miles into the desert just to stay in a hotel if they couldn't afford a nicer one in L.A. People wouldn't bet $500 on a hand if they weren't trying to make $500 back in winnings. And people definitely wouldn't get married in Vegas unless they really wanted to get divorced quickly. Basically, if you take all the stupid decisions people make and put them in one place, it's Las Vegas. We all know that stupidity isn't a reliable long-term strategy. But thankfully, in the short term, it makes for a hell of a time. Let me explain. Imagine you're walking down the Strip at night. The lights are flashing, the shows are playing, the fountains are dancing, and you're looking up at the Bellagio and thinking to yourself, you know, it's not the pyramids, but it's close. And you're smiling because you're actually having a good time. And that's the genius of Las Vegas. It knows you're stupid, and it plays right into it. But that doesn't mean the desert's giving up without a fight. Right now, Vegas guzzles 225 million gallons of water a day, half of which comes from treated wastewater, which is treated wastewater. Lake Mead, the reservoir that supplies Vegas with most of its water, is the driest it's been in 200 years. The Colorado River is on life support. California is building desalination plants to tap into the ocean. Desalination plants, in case you didn't know, suck. Yet Vegas keeps growing. New hotels keep getting built. New water infrastructure keeps getting installed. New zip lines are being planned. The desert's best revenge is a slow burn. But eventually, it'll catch up. These days, Vegas is doing everything it can to preserve itself. They recycle 90% of their indoor water, pay you to kill your lawn, and rely heavily on treated wastewater. But you can only conserve so much water when you're surrounded by sand, especially when you're catering to morons. As Vegas grows, the desert will keep fighting back, but it won't stand a chance. And that's why Las Vegas still exists. It's because people are stupid, and as long as they keep building dumb stuff in the middle of nowhere, the desert will continue to pay. People sometimes ask me how I come up with ideas for videos, and it's usually something I stumble upon while scrolling through Reddit. Hey, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more stories of cities that defied physics, morality, and zoning laws. And check out my podcast, coming soon to a non-fictional desert near you. Listen to the audio podcast on various platforms. And for the love of God, subscribe.